All right, let's jump right in. Today, we are talking about a massive shift that's changing everything about how we work, from student clubs all the way up to the C-suite. We're asking, is this the end of the traditional boss? And if it is, what's taking its place?
See, this is the big question, isn't it? It's the one that every leader is trying to figure out right now. We're all told to empower our people, flatten the hierarchy, let them run. And that sounds amazing. It sounds totally liberating. But it also leads you straight into this fundamental problem. And that problem, well, it's got a name: the autonomy paradox. It's this constant tug of war between giving your team the freedom they need to be creative and fast, while also making sure everyone is, rowing in the same direction. If you get that balance wrong, you end up with one of two things: total stagnation or just a complete and utter mess.
So how do we solve this thing? Well, first we have to understand this huge shift in how we even think about what a company is. The old way saw it as a machine. The new way sees it as a garden.
This whole idea comes from a really smart theory by Tom Burns and GM Stocker. On the left, you've got the mechanistic view, the machine. It's a rigid pyramid, right, top down. Think of a classic assembly line. Orders flow down, reports flow up. But on the right, you have the organic model, the garden. It's this fluid, living network of teams. It's designed not just to do one thing over and over, but to adapt, to evolve, and to grow. So why is everybody suddenly getting into gardening? It's pretty simple, actually. The world we live in is just way too turbulent and fast-moving. A rigid machine is great when everything is stable and predictable, but it just completely falls apart when things are changing every 5 minutes. A garden, on the other hand, is built for that kind of chaos. It thrives in it. And there's a name for the ultimate garden organization. It's called adhocracy, and it's a concept from McGill's Henry Mintzberg. The idea is so simple but so powerful. What you know is more important than who you are. Expertise beats hierarchy. So power naturally flows to the person who can actually solve the problem, which makes the whole organization incredibly fast and flexible. Okay, so if the organization itself is changing so dramatically, it only makes sense that the manager's job has to change too. The old command and control playbook, it's basically obsolete. We need a new one.
So what does this new playbook even look like? Well, it redefines the manager's role into 5 new jobs. First, you're a translator, turning those big, lofty company goals into clear actions your team can take. You're a designer, shaping the environment and the process so your team can work at top speed. You're a coach, developing your people's skills and building trust. You're a connector, linking your team to the resources and people they need across the company. And finally, you're a guardian, protecting the team and upholding the standards of quality.
When you really boil it all down, it's this fundamental shift in identity. The manager is no longer the gatekeeper of information, the person who knows everything. Instead, they become a connector of resources. Your job isn't to have all the answers anymore. It's to make sure your team knows how to find them.
Now, this all sounds pretty good in theory, right? But what does it actually look like when the rubber hits the road? Let's take a look at how some major companies, ones you definitely know, are making this happen.
So why are some of the biggest, most successful companies in the world ripping up their old org charts? Well, the motivation comes down to one absolutely astronomical number: $3 trillion. Yep, that massive number comes from a Harvard Business Review analysis. It's what they calculated as the annual cost of old-school bloated bureaucratic management in the US alone. That is the price of running a machine in a world that desperately needs a garden. It's just a huge, expensive drag on innovation.
Okay, this comparison between Lululemon and Nike is a perfect way to see the trade-offs. Lululemon basically grew up as a garden, right? It empowered its store managers to be like local entrepreneurs, building their own communities. And that gave them this incredible agility in their niche markets. Nike, on the other hand, was built as a machine for massive global scale and efficiency. But what's so fascinating is that now they're both trying to learn from each other. Lululemon is trying to figure out how to scale its magic, while Nike is trying to get faster and more nimble. But maybe the most famous example of this new way of working comes from the world of music and tech, Spotify. They literally re-engineered their entire company around the ideas of speed and scale. So here's the Spotify model in a nutshell. It's built around these things they call squads. Basically, small, self-governing teams that act like little mini startups. They own a project from the initial idea all the way to launch. And this totally frees up managers to stop micromanaging tasks and instead focus on the big stuff, like coaching and building a great culture. It's a system designed from the ground up to scale innovation, not bureaucracy. And it's not just a European thing. Shopify is another great example. They've flattened their whole structure to empower small, fast teams to get new features out the door without getting bogged down in endless layers of approval. In that world, the manager's job is simple. Clear the path, don't be a gatekeeper.
So it's pretty clear this is the direction things are heading. And the best part is, you don't have to be a CEO to start thinking and acting this way. You can actually start applying these ideas right now, wherever you are.
Here's a little toolkit for you, and honestly, this works whether you're managing a team of 50 or just leading a group project. First, set clear goals, the what and the why, and then trust your team with the how. Second, find something your team can own completely from start to finish. Third, use your meetings to align and help, not to check up and control. And finally, just practice asking good questions instead of always giving orders. Be a coach, not a commander.
But here's the most important thing to remember. It's the golden rule. Structure follows strategy. You don't just build a garden because it sounds cool or it's trendy. Your company's design has to serve your ultimate goal. If your mission is all about pure efficiency and doing one thing at a massive scale, you know what? A machine might still be the right call. But if you need to innovate, to adapt, to respond to your customers quickly, you better start gardening.
You know, at the end of the day, all of this comes back to a timeless idea from the absolute legend of management, Peter Drucker. This whole shift we're talking about, it's not just about making people feel happy at work. It's a productivity strategy. It's about designing a system that truly unlocks the potential of the people inside it, so ordinary people can do extraordinary things.
And that leaves us with one last kind of wild question to think about. If a manager's job is really shifting to be about coordinating, connecting, and coaching, what happens when an AI can do all of that better, faster, and more efficiently than a human ever could? What will the leader of tomorrow really be doing then?